Hi guys! You might see my cat lurking around. He's just fascinated with this setup at the moment, or you might hear him clicking around. Today I thought I'd do a quick video. I received this Greenwich Tarot deck in the mail recently and I haven't had a chance to unbox it yet, so I thought I'd unbox it here on camera. I have taken off the plastic wrapping on things though, just to make life a little bit easier rather than struggle with the scissors on the camera as well. So before I purchased this deck, I did watch a lot of unboxings and a lot of deck walkthroughs to see whether the imagery is something that I would really enjoy and connect with, and I knew that it's something that I did want to work with at the moment. So I'd also seen the backing of these cards and seen that they were quite green, and some people had said that they felt it was very, it had very Yule energy or that sort of natural vibe to it. So I saw the green and I thought I might purchase a bag for it. So I purchased a like a green velvet bag as well, and I got this via Etsy, and you got to choose what little decoration you wanted on the drawstring of the bag. So that's the decoration that I chose. And just a shout out, I got this from Second Life Magic on Etsy, and this is an Australian seller, and you can find her shop on her shop on Etsy is Second Life Magic. She's also on eBay as well, actually, and magic is spelt with a CK, for everyone who's interested. There's also a little card inside, which is just a thank you for your purchase and 15% off your next order, and there's custom and wholesale orders welcome as well. So that was just very neatly wrapped in a little plastic wrap and a little padded bag as well, so very well wrapped. And you can see inside it's got that silvery crushed velvet feel, so it's very lovely feeling, and I think this will be very appropriate for these particular cards. Okay, so now onto the tarot deck. And before I do that, I should quickly mention, of course, that this is not a newly released deck, but it's something that I've seen recently, and I've just thought this is sort of like a imagery and energy that I really want to be working with. I had been working with the Steampunk Tarot and also the Shadowscapes Tarot, so both quite fantastical decks, but the Steampunk Tarot, the industrial feeling of it was something that I was starting to get, I guess, tire of, and maybe I needed to put it away for a little while. So I've switched to something that's very more naturalistic. So obviously there's that magnetic closure there, and the guidebook. And you can see that they've got pretty much full page pictures of the cards in black and white, as well as a description, and they've got some notes sections as well, so you can record your own thoughts on the card, which is quite nice. I'm not sure if I will actually do that in the book. I don't really like to write in like guidebooks like this, but I certainly might do some recording of each of the cards as well. And as I said, I've taken the plastic wrap off this as well. So there we go. And yeah, this is the colouring that I'd seen as well on the decks that I thought would really go with that green tarot bag as well. So the tarot bag, I believe it was one of the last ones of that particular colour and style, so I think I picked it up for under $20 Australian. So the light might be quite yellow. I'm sorry guys, I'm filming sort of in the dark, and it is right underneath the overhead lighting, so that's the lighting that we're working with. So as you can see, it feels very naturalistic, the backing of the cards. and some people have likened this to like a very Yule feel. However, these are roses, these aren't, this isn't holly or anything like that. Now, of course, this deck isn't a new deck. For everyone who's a deck collector, you have most likely seen this imagery before, but I just thought I'd do a quick video and I guess record my first impressions, and just so that I have that on record for myself as well. So I'll just do a quick flip through. I really do like the quality of these cards. They do feel quite nice, especially after coming from, I have the Shadowscapes Tarot, and I mean, I love the imagery on it, but it is, the quality of the cards is a bit of a disappointment, and the images are so small, which is really disappointing. So let me move that up a bit. There we go. So we've got the King of Chalices. As a beginner, I did wonder whether I was, I guess, whether it would be a good idea for me to purchase this deck and use it as a day-to-day deck, because it does have different naming conventions. So obviously instead of cups, you've got the chalices, which is, you know, easy enough to associate in your mind, but it does have other major arcana deck features that are different as well. Like I believe you don't have the Hanged Man, instead you have a much more naturalistic so a much more naturalistic character, sorry. I'm looking at the imagery on the cards. It's all quite beautiful and very, not necessarily summery. There is a little bit of a warm feeling throughout this deck, I feel. But it is quite nice coming from from using the Steampunk Tarot as my sort of day-to-day daily draw deck, that sort of thing. It's actually really nice to come back to this bright, full of flora and fauna and animals and beautiful natural scenes. I think I really needed a break from the Shadowscapes Tarot. And it was my intention to not have many decks at the one time. I'm not really a collector at heart, so I don't foresee me collecting tarot decks. So I do want to keep my collection quite small and very, I guess, mindful. I want to make sure that the deck that I have is the deck that I am loving using at that particular time. And at the moment I'm drawn to, I suppose, the fantastical in a way. Historically, I mean, as I mentioned, I had the Shadowscapes Tarot and the Steampunk Tarot, so they're obviously two very fantastic, well, they may have imagery from the Rider-Waite-Smith, but they are, the imagery is very niche, I suppose. So this is coming back to, I suppose, using more, I guess, realistic characters. You don't have the elves and the, you know, the fairies and that sort of thing. However, it is still a, I guess, a very fantasy deck, or at least, you know, maybe you can say that it isn't a modern day deck. You have people, you know, in very sort of bucolic scenes and that sort of thing. So you can maybe say that, you know, if it was something that was representative here on Earth, it would be maybe a couple of centuries ago, potentially. And then of course you've got the Athames or Athames instead of the swords. Oh, that reminds me of the novel that I read a little while ago by Juliet Marillier about swans. It was, I can't remember the title of the book, but it just, wow. I love how bright all of these scenes are too, and I know I have heard other people mention it was really nice to have different ages represented in the deck. Now mostly you do see that they are sort of young men and women, but that age has not been something that's heavily represented in tarot decks historically. And I mean, I suppose you could say that here it's a very small percentage of the cards as well, but it is quite interesting that that is something that I guess we haven't focused on. We've got Pentacles for Pentacles, so no changes there. It's interesting, I recently watched a series that was made by the same people that did the Tales of the Green Valley, and I just watched this on YouTube. They're available on YouTube at the moment. And this was a Tudor monastery farm, and how they, I guess how they went about their lives, and when farming started to become a little bit of a business. And because the church was so huge during the Tudor period, they were the biggest landowners, so they would lease land to farmers, and the farmers would work the land and produce different things. Like wool was one of the biggest exports of England at the time. And basically, before I get carried off, I'm just seeing a lot of scenes that I recognize from I guess the agricultural wheel of the year, that, you know, when it was time to sort of shear sheep and when it was time to sell them at market. And I'm seeing a lot of these craftsmen. You could see craftsmen, obviously they were carving pentacles, but you know, they would do stained glass windows, and the series was quite good. So if you're interested in something like following a Tudor agricultural wheel of the year, and some of the crafts and like animals and some of the ways in which people were earning money and making a living, you can find that on YouTube. It's just called Tudor Monastery Farm. It was very interesting. The world tree instead of the world. I really like that. Harvest. Now, of course, here is where it departs from the standard naming of the cards. There are still quite a few major arcana that are the same, but it's something I was like pre-warned about, and it's a very interesting change, and it's something I think it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I've been a very by the book person, and it'll be nice to sort of, I guess, expand my horizons. And obviously the sun and the moon, the star. Oh, that's a really nice one. I did speak too soon. Obviously there is sort of like a fairy creature in this deck, but most of the people have seemed very human up until this point. The Tower. Ooh, I like how there's these like night riders in the sky almost. Nature. It's quite a dark card. The She. Or the She, sorry. The Lord of Shadows. The Oak King. for the Hanged Man, Standing Stone, the Justice card. However, you can see the scales on this Standing Stone here as well. That's very interesting. The Wheel of the Year, the Wheel of Fortune. That's interesting too, connecting the seasons with the, I guess, the cycles of life, or the cycles of fortune as well, and you know, like the winter of your life, the summer of your life, that sort of thing. That's very interesting too. I like that. The Holy King, the Crone, the Strength card. I like that. The Battle Wagon, the Lady and the Lord, the High Priest, the Horned God, Earth Mother, High Priestess, the Witch, and the Green Man for the Fool. So that's the entire tarot deck, and I have to say I'm really excited to be working with this deck. I'm really connecting with the very naturalistic scenery there, and the brightness and all of the animals, and I'm really looking forward to like digging into each of the images on each of the cards, and because there's a lot going on in a lot of them as well, a lot that you can sort of read into and like create a story out of, which is, I think, is going to be really helpful for me as a relatively new tarot reader. I know that the less that are on the cards, the less there is for me to sort of interpret and intuitively read. So having a lot of I guess things going on in each of the pictures is really important if I am to sort of break away from you know, getting out the guidebook every time I pull a card. So I'm really excited to be working with this deck, actually, and I'm really glad that I made the leap. I did actually get rid of my Steampunk and Shadowscapes Tarot, and maybe one day I'll get them back again. I did sell them on a Facebook marketplace, and I just thought it would be a nice idea to put them in circulation while I'm not using them, and you know, later on down the track, if they do come into my life again, that's brilliant. They were, I guess, really helpful at the time, but they were something I weren't reaching for very often. So I wanted to, I guess, reinvigorate the feeling of being excited about the imagery on your tarot cards, and just wanting to look at them and pull cards frequently and everything like that. And I have been feeling very pulled in the direction of sort of like nature and like a more nature-based kind of spirituality, I guess you'd say. And so the Steampunk Tarot really wasn't working for me. As beautiful as the imagery was, it was very dark and, you know, obviously industrial, and yeah, I just felt like I needed something like, I mean, look how green this is. Like, it is so lovely, and I think that I just, yeah, really needed a bit of a change in imagery. And I love that these are borderless. I've only ever had bordered cards before, and I'm loving the fact that these are just the images. Like, there's no distractions, and even the naming of the cards is, you know, it sort of blends in, and it's very unobtrusive. I really love that too. So thanks so much for watching this unboxing, guys, and I will see you in another video.